gonna hike up that mountain?
Yeah.
That one, the big one.
What's the point of this?
It's fun.
It's fun.
That's what people tell me at least.
You know, this is the part of the hike that's normal. We tend to like it normal. We tend to like things comfortable. We tend to like to move along at a pace that's predictable. And this is the part of the hike that's that way. And there's an awful lot of our journey that the Lord takes us on where it's just like this. It's not too much exertion, not too hard. We tend to like this kind of trail. Trouble is we won't ever get to the real high country if we stop here or if we just seek out these kind of paths. But I've been through a lot in life that's this way, and I kind of like it that way. But I never would have got to where God wants me if I just stayed on this kind of path. Move along on the journey that God has you on. You go along, it seems like nothing's really changing, you're not making any progress, you're not moving any higher, and then every so often God gives you a view of where you've been. Maybe it's through somebody else, maybe it's just through the circumstances themselves, but you look around and you realize, you know, I have climbed. I'm higher, further, more like Christ than I used to be. I am making progress, and we need those times, and we kind of allow God to encourage us and strengthen us and say, hey, it is worth it. And even though you don't seem like you're getting anywhere, you really are as you keep following me and keep plodding along.
I don't know who first was the one that mentioned it to me, but it may have been my dad that reminded me that it's important as we kind of go along this journey, it's important to slow down in life and take everything in. And to me, as we continue to walk and I look around myself, I'm just constantly amazed by what I see. And it reminds me of the God in which we serve and the way that He interacts in our lives. And I began to process the aspect that here we are on this ball that's spiraling through space at 1,000 miles an hour. And sometimes I wonder, am I the only one that thinks that's a little bit weird? And yet we find that in the midst of that, in the midst of this massiveness in which we find ourselves, and that God has a desire for our lives. And part of that journey takes us through all kinds of things that we don't even see at times, in which we have and we desire to understand God, and that God has a desire in our lives to move beyond what's just normal and what we find is normacy in life. I think this is one of my favorite spots on this hike. It's beautiful. And for many of us, as we kind of go through life, it's easy for us to get enamored by the beauty and enamored by just the peace that surrounds us. And the truth is, a lot of us are just looking for this. We're looking for normacy in our lives. You can go to your local bookstore and find 100 or a couple hundred or thousands of books on self-help, or oftentimes we even medicate ourselves in order to just feel normal. The truth is, when you look at this and you think about the God who created this, that He's a unique God, and that there's so much more in which He desires for us beyond normacy for our own personal lives. And it's too bad, because I think so many of us stop here and we miss the journey that still lies ahead and the beauty of which God wants to reveal to us along this journey.
Well, we're at that part in this little journey Well, we don't know where we are. We think we're still in Arizona, but we're not sure where we are. We're not sure we took a wrong turn. We might have, and that's kind of the way this journey is. There's times you just exercise faith. You kind of have a vision. You know where you should end up, and you need some reassurance, some sign, some help from somewhere that you're still in the right direction. And a lot of times on the journey, you just get in those kind of situations, and that's normal. That's really what God says is normal, walking by faith. Not certainty and not anything really solid, but really just going ahead a step at a time and trusting Him to give you the direction.
I begin to ponder the journey in which we're on and the process of getting to the end result. We find ourselves in sections similar to this where, we know that there's an end goal and there's an end result, and yet we're in the midst of the journey and we don't know necessarily, or we can't see the end result, but we just continue to press on, persevering towards the end, knowing it's going to be worth it.
Well, here we are at the summit, and it's good up here. The air is cool. It's a time to rest, and I think about the fact that at the end of our journey that God has us on, there'll be rest. That's one good thing about it. One of the things just fascinating up here is you'll look back at where you came, and it all is so clear now. All those times we weren't sure where we were, and all of the hard things, now it looks it's all in perspective, and we can look back along there and see, and it just reminds us of what God wants us to rise to, what He wants to take us up to, and what He'll bring us to. We don't get here in this life to this summit, but God's going to bring us here, a place of rest, and we're going to look back, and it's all going to look very different then, and it's a good look. It's a good view.
I'm reminded of Romans chapter 1, in which he talks about in the midst of the sheer beauty that we find in life and on this earth, that there's no way that we can deny the existence of God. And there's a part of that as we kind of journey in our relationship with God, that there's a part in which God desires for us to experience life outside of the muck and outside of the junk. And oftentimes we forget that in order for us to move forward, we have to learn how to leave things behind us. And in order for us to move forward on the journey in which Christ has for us, there's oftentimes we do need to say no, and we need to move on and allow things to be left behind in order for us to experience all the goodness in which God longs for us to experience. I think for us is the big thing is learning not to just be satisfied with a normal life and normacy in our lifestyle, but to persevere and desire more and desire the things in which God has for us.